Hello students, welcome to this session. In this video I am going to discuss about input, how we can take input. So there are three ways to take input. First one is using initialization or literals, second one is using parameters, and third one is using scanner. Initialization means we will directly assign the required value or literal, value means literal, to the variable. So let's look at a practical example. So let's create our main function. So let's create a few variables here. So you can see that I have created 4 variables A, B, C, D, E and F, each having a different type. So A requires an integer value, right? So we will directly assign some integer value to it like this, let us say 3, 4, 5. Then B requires a character value, so we will directly give it a character value, by using a character literal. You know that a character literal is represented within a single quote. So within the single quote, whichever character I want to store it in the variable B, I will write it. So let us say G, I want to store G. Similarly, in the variable C, it requires a float. So assign a float literal. How do we represent a float literal? By writing some decimal number and followed by F. This is a float literal. Then D requires a double value. So write some decimal number followed by D. Then E requires a boolean type. So you can either assign true or false to it. And F requires a string literal. So string literal is represented within double quotes. So let's say I want to store the word Java. So this is our string literal Java that is stored in F. So here you can see that I am directly using the values, the literals, which is required by the variable, directly assign it to the variable in the program itself. This is also known as hard coding. So if you assign the values of the variable in the coding itself, that is known as hard coding. Let's look at the second kind of input now. So the second kind of input is parameters, isn't it? Second is parameters. So parameters means what? In the function prototype, we have to declare the variables that need values. Okay. So, for example, I will create just two variables here. Let us remove all of this. Okay. I have created variable a and variable b of int type and boolean type. So, let us compile this. See, now whenever the main function is called, the values will be given for a and b, isn't it? So, this is known as input through parameters. For example, I can give the values for a and b by calling the main function from here. Okay. So, if you can see, there are two text boxes. One is this one and the second one is this one, and you can see there is int a written here and there is boolean b written here. So, whatever value we write here, that value will be assigned to a and b respectively. Okay. So, let us do that. So, let us put 23 here and let us put a false value for b and click on OK. So, when we click on OK, the values went to the variables a and b, and we can see those values if we print it out here. Okay. So, let us just print a and b. So, let us compile it and let us call the main function and provide the values again for a and b. So, let us give this time, let us give 56 this time to a, and let us give the value false to b and print it. Okay. So, you can see the values of a and b are being printed as 56 and false. Okay. So, this method is known as input using parameters. Now, the third method, the scanner method. Okay. So, when you are required to take input from the user, okay, the user of your program, through the terminal window, then you will have to use the scanner class. And to use the scanner class, the first thing you need to do is you have to import the util package. Okay. So, let me import here by writing import java.util.star. Okay. So, you can write .star also and you can write .scanner also. Okay. So, once this is done, let me remove everything from here, the parameters specifically. Okay. Let me create a few variables of different types. Okay, students, now I have created 6 variables here, a, b, c, d, word and sentence, and you can see their types are different: int, float, double, boolean, and word and sentence are of string type. Okay. So, the value that will be assigned to these variables will be taken at runtime from the user. Okay. So, for that you need to create a scanner object first. Okay. So, let us create the scanner object by using the syntax, that is class name object name is equal to new class name. Okay. So, scanner sc is equal to new scanner system dot in. So, here scanner is the class, sc is the object, okay, and system.in represents the input stream. Okay. What is this input stream? See, whatever you type from the keyboard, Okay, whenever you type, whenever you press any key on the keyboard, a stream of bytes is generated. Okay, a stream of bytes is generated. Now that stream, it goes to the it comes to our program through the memory. Okay, so whatever key you press, that will be first taken into the memory of the computer, and from the memory it will come into our program. So for different kinds of values, there are different functions present inside the SC object. I mean the scanner class. Okay, there are different functions present inside the scanner class, like next int. Okay, this next int function is used for taking integer values. Next float is used for taking float numbers. Then next double is used for taking a double value. Then next is used for taking a word, a single word, and next line is used for taking an entire sentence. Okay, so we are going to use these functions for taking the inputs. See, whatever you type on the keyboard, that's in the form of string. Okay, and you know that string is represented within double quotes. That's why I've used double quotes here. So whatever you type on the keyboard is a string. Okay, and these functions convert the string into the required type. For example, this next int will convert the string input to an integer. The next float function will convert the string input into a float type. Okay, so let's use the functions and take the input. Okay, so for integer, you know that I have to use the next int function. So I have to write sc dot next int here. Okay, I have to write sc dot next int. Then for float, I have to use the next float function. So notice here that the function will convert the incoming input into an integer. Okay, and assign it to the variable a. Okay, assignment will be done by the assignment operator here. Okay, now let us assign the boolean value. Okay, so here I need to use sc dot next double. Then the next is a boolean, isn't it? So I have to write here sc dot next boolean. Okay, and for a word I need to write sc dot next, and for a sentence I have to write sc dot next line. Okay, and I forgot character, so let's declare a character variable. So char e is equal to sc dot next dot char at 0. This is how you will take the character input. Okay, so we'll discuss the character input later on. I've made a spelling mistake here. It's a char. Okay, so we will discuss this later in detail. So we can skip these three for now. Okay, so students, before we take the input, okay, it's always appropriate to display a message, okay, to display a message like system.out.println enter an integer value, okay. So when you do this, the user of the program will know that what kind of data is expected from the user to input, okay. Similarly, for the next input, I am going to display a message here, system.out.println enter a float value, okay. So similarly, for double, I am going to display a message, enter a double value, and for boolean I am going to display enter a boolean value, and then finally for a string, that is a word, okay, enter a word, okay. So once the input is taken, we will print all the values that are stored in the variables, okay, system.out.println, okay. We are simply going to print all the values here. So first one is A, we are going to print A, then we are going to print B, C, D, and then final variable is word, okay. Okay, so let's compile and execute our program here. So the message on the screen you can see is enter an integer value, okay. So let's enter some value here, 456. So once that is entered, so once you entered 456, so as soon as you pressed enter, 456 was transferred from the keyboard to the memory into our program into the variable A, okay. Now I am going to enter a float value. So let's say 45.78, okay. So that is gone in the B variable. Then I am going to enter 7.9. So this will go into the C variable. Then I need to enter a boolean value. So let's enter false. So that's gone into the boolean variable, okay. And finally, when I enter a word here, let's enter school, okay. So this school string will go into the variable word, okay. As soon as I press enter, okay. So now we are at this line. As soon I press enter, I will be able to see all the values stored in all the values that got stored in these variables, okay. So let's press enter here. So you can see, students, the values went to the respective variables and it is getting printed here. So I hope you have understood how to take integer, float, double, boolean and word inputs. Now let's discuss how we can take input for a character, okay. So let's say I'll display a message here, enter a character, and let me change the value here of the data type to char, okay. So the function you are going to call is sc.next, okay. So remember what does this next function do? It will take a word, okay. From that word I want only the first character, that is why I am writing 0 here, okay. So I'll print the value of A in the next line, and let's see the output. So, enter character. I am going to enter M, or I am going to enter dollar. Okay, let's enter dollar. So, as you can see, dollar was entered in the variable, okay, and then finally it got printed. Again I am running the program, and this time I will enter apple. So, as you can see, student, I did not enter a character this time, I entered apple, that is a word. Okay. Now, how come word is taken? Because ICSE.next will take word input. Okay. From that word it will give us the first character with the help of this 0. If I change this 0 to 1, okay, and if the word is apple, that means this time I will get the value p. Okay, let's try that. So, apple, the character that will be stored is p and not a. Okay. So, we should write 0 here if we are expecting a character input, because when the user sees the message that enter a character, so the user is going to enter a single character only. Okay. And the single character, it will have its index at 0 position only. So, that is why you are going to write 0 only for the character input. Okay, now let us understand next. Okay, we finally let us understand one more input. Okay, that's a sentence. Okay, enter a sentence. So, for taking an entire sentence, I need to call the next line function. Okay. So, next line will return me a sentence, and it cannot be stored in a character variable. I need a string variable here. So, I am creating a string variable. Let us compile it. Let us compile and execute. So, let us say apple is good for health. This is the string that I entered, and press enter. You can see that the value that got stored in the variable a is this: apple is good for health. Okay, now a few additional points regarding next and next line. Let us talk about the next function first. So, when I enter, okay, when I run this program and I enter apple is good for health. So, this is the input I provided here. Okay, ICSE.next, when it is executing, this is the input I gave. Okay. Now, the next function is going to find the first available token. Okay. See, whatever you enter from the keyboard, it is in the form of a string. Okay. From this string, it is going to find. Okay, first of all, in a string, there are two things. Okay, one is token and the other one is delimiter. What does token mean? See, anything apart from white space. Okay, white space means a space. It can be a new line. Okay, new line is represented by \n, isn't it? Okay, so a space or a \n represents the delimiter. Okay, the default delimiter. So, anything apart from space and new line is a token. Okay, so here you can see we have got 1, 2, 3, 4. We have got 4 delimiters and 5 tokens, isn't it? Apple is good for health. These are the 5 tokens, and there are 5 spaces here. Sorry, there are 4 spaces. Those 4 spaces are the delimiters. Okay. And actually there is at last we pressed enter, so there is backslash n also. So the total number of delimiters here will be not 4, it will be 5. But the next function finds the first available token. Okay, it will ignore all the blank spaces and new line white space. Okay, and it will give the word, the token. So let's execute this and understand delimiters and tokens. Okay, so let me enter apple is good for health. Okay, so from this sentence the next function only took up apple, the first available token. Okay, now if I call the next function again, it will give me the next available token, that is. Okay, and then again if I call the next function for the third time, it will give me good. Okay, let's have a look. So let's call sc dot next again and again sc dot next. So after calling the next function 3 times and storing the values in different variables b, c and a, I am simply going to print it. Okay. So let's have a look at the output. Okay, I am going to enter the same sentence, apple is good for health. So as you can see, A got apple, B got is and C got good. Okay. So the next function ignores white space, okay, and gives me the next available token. I hope you got this point. And next line function will give me the entire line. Okay, it will give me the entire line. So it will keep on picking up characters until it finds the backslash n character. Okay, so after this, if I take a fourth input, okay, string d is equal to sc dot next line. Okay, so apple has been picked up by this, is has been picked up by this, and good has been picked up by this. Okay. So what is left? We are left with for health. We are left with for space health. Okay, and there is a space here before for. So the value that will be stored in D will be this space for health. Okay. So let's execute this and have a look at the output. Okay. So apple is good for health. Oh, I forgot to print the value of D. Let me do that. So there we go. I'm printing the value of D as well. Okay, so apple is good for health. Okay, so as you can see students, A got apple, B got is and C got good. What we were left with was a space here and for health. Okay, and at last we pressed enter, so there was backslash n here. Okay, so the next line function started reading from here, from the space position, and it went on reading up till here until it found this backslash n. Okay, so as soon as it found the backslash n character, it stopped there. Okay, and so our string became space is good, space for health. Okay, notice here that before for there is a space here, so the space is also picked. So the next function ignores space and new line. Okay, whereas the next line function, it does not ignore space. Okay, and it keeps on reading the characters until, so let me write this down. So it does not ignore space and keeps on reading the characters until it finds this character, that is backslash n. So I hope you have understood the difference between next and next line, as well as you have understood how to use the next function for getting the character input. So that's it student for the scanner class. We will stop here. Thank you.